So, talking about the latest episode of Skeleton Crew, uh, I did enjoy the capture of Captain Silvo. I did not like how many of those pirates are still alive. They filled an entire fucking vat of acid, and everybody survived somehow. So I was not a huge fan of that. I did like that they caught him. I do like that he is doing whatever he can to stay alive. I do think that he's going to kill every last one of them. I don't think that there's this. I think a lot of people I watch that talk about these shows, they really feel like the Jude Law character has like this arc going where he's going to, feel terrible about what he's done. He's going to turn. He's going to help the kids in some way. He's going to do something very noble. I kind of feel like that's not going to happen. I kind of feel like the story is not about him. I think the story is about Wim. I think it's about Wim learning to trust the right people, learning to see evil for what it is, and learning to really understand what being good is. So I think that as much as I think a lot of people want to see the Jude Law character turn everything around, become this great guy, become what Wim believed he was, I don't think it's going to happen. I kind of feel like there's going to be just a kind of murderous end to all of this. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing that turn, and I think we got a little taste of it this episode with Wim really talking about how he has trouble discerning the good guys from the bad guys. When the X-wings show up, when he follows those little crabs all the way to get almost murdered by something that looked like right out of a Godzilla movie. Like, I think that's a lot of foreshadowing of Wim kind of his growth and him going towards the idea of understanding good versus evil, coming out first and really thinking, like if it really mirrors like Last Jedi, where he has this thought that, floating things makes you a Jedi, right? And he needed to see that, someone with those powers might be a huge asshole. And it turns out that that's what it is, right? Like, so I kind of want that out of the Jude Law character, and I want Wim to really understand that. I think it builds towards either in this season or another that Wim kind of understands that his home planet is not really being protected as much as he's being kept prisoner on it, right? Like, it's not that all this stuff is for their protection. It's all to keep them there, right? It's all to run the machine that keeps that planet fed. So I think that those two things are going to kind of combine. I kind of at this point would really dislike it if Jude Law came around and like did something super noble and help the kids at the end. Like, I really want him to try and kill all the other pirates. I want him to try and get away with everything. And I want him to be stopped by someone unremarkable. And so I think that's kind of the path that I see that I think would be better. As for what's going on in the show and what we're seeing right now, I did think that it was a pretty big turn for Wim to, even though he goes the wrong way, that he saves KB's life. I think that that's the kind of thing that, like, shows him that, like, you don't have to be like this extra special Jedi with the lightsaber to really do something good or to affect people in a positive way. And I think that's the lesson that he's kind of learning there. I think that, like, Fern is learning a lesson in this of just really having to accept that, like, people don't have all the same skills as her, but they have other skills that are extremely important. I think you see that in her having to drag Neil along, but then when they get back to the ship, KB and Neil are the ones who are going to really get them out of there. So that's kind of where I see like the character growth, and that's what this episode was really about. Bryce Dallas Howard did a really good job of like bringing out all that emotion from the kids. I think that that's a tough thing to do. I think we've probably all watched things where kids are acting and they're trying to do some very emotional scene, and it doesn't land. I think it's a lot to ask of I think these kids are like 12 years old. It's a hell of a lot to ask of them. And I think she did a really good job of bringing that out and bringing it out in a way that wasn't like overly dramatized. It was kind of just the regular actions between the kids that you could see happening. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of the episode. The one thing I didn't really understand, and I hope that they give a little bit more insight into it, is how the X-Wings showed up, like how they tracked any of this. Are they tracking these pirates, and why didn't they track them further then? Are they going to show up at At-Atten? Do they have some way of following them? It was kind of really unclear how they got there, who they were after. They blew up a ship. I don't even know whose ship that was, because there's everybody seemed to survive. So that part of it, I'm a little unclear on. I hope that they clear that up. And that's kind of like what I'm a little bit worried about with the show. Is there's 2 episodes left. I think there's a lot of plot lines to close up. I mean, like we still haven't seen what the parents are up to. We didn't get any glimpse of them. So we don't know if that's them. We don't know who's the supervisor, right? Like we don't know about that. We don't know what's going to happen with Silvo or with the pirates. We don't know if there's anyone else getting involved. So I think there's just a lot of different aspects of the show that need to get closed up. And it worries me when they had said this was going to be a single season, and now we're hearing, oh, well, there might be a season 2. And like, I really don't want this to end on a cliffhanger, because if this ends on a cliffhanger and it takes a couple of years to film this, by the time they film this, those kids are going to be like 15 years old. They're going to look incredibly different. They're going to have to do some weird time jump. It's not going to, it's going to be difficult to land if they don't resolve all of these things kind of in the end of this season. So that's kind of my biggest concern with the show right now. But I think that I think they can get to a satisfying ending. I think that there needs to be, maybe that last episode needs to be closer to like an hour 15 or something. But I do think that we need to see some kind of resolution with the home planet. I don't really love the way that it's kind of in the background right now. So I'm hopeful that we see that. I'm also interested to see exactly what's going on here, because I think that there's, I think we look at this and go, okay, the Mint is like this kind of unlimited amount of credits, and I kind of wish that they would show that, like when they get there, that there's not that because all those other planets are destroyed, the materials that you need to make these credits don't exist now. They don't have access to them. And so now, in order to keep the amount of circulation that they need, that's what's going on this planet. That's why they need so many analysts to make sure that everything works properly and perfectly, so that there's not not a shortage of these credits, not a shortage of what everybody needs. So it would be funny if, Silvo gets there, finally gets to the Mint, and realizes that like there's nothing to make any new credits with. This is just this we're out of resources because all these other planets are destroyed. So I kind of hope for something like that. We'll see. Overall, I think that this was a really good episode. Not a lot happened, so not a ton to discuss. So I think I'll leave it there. I'm excited to see how these last 2 episodes go, and see if we can get to the 40 resolutions that we need to get to in these plots. So with that said, I'm gonna jump. If you want to hang out from the 108 podcast and you're watching this on YouTube, you could just stay put. This is just going to redirect to that. We'll be back in like about 10 minutes. So have a good night, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.